I think we're started. Okay, thank you. All right, hi guys, thank you. My name is Carrie. Another episode of One Last Question, and I am here with Steve Cooney, aka Steve Rixx. A lot of you may know him as the general manager and morning show host of Willie 103.3 from East Texas, but I know him as someone that I grew up with when I was a young girl. So that is why I wanted to talk to you. So go ahead. I want to talk about your career though first, and then we're going to get into like all the, you know,
Juicy stuff.
the juicy stuff, right? When I knew you and you were like what, 19?
Uh, well, I was
I was
trying to
just
do the math when I came up. First of all, thank you for having me. It's
oh,
it's an honor and a privilege to be here with you,
you're so sweet.
my sweet Carrie Jean. Um, so I was trying to remember how old I was when I dated your sister. So I was in, I was like a junior, so I was probably 17, and so that's like
Okay.
mid 80s. That's like 85.
Yeah.
And so, how old were you in 85?
Oh God, I was born in 76. So what is that? 9 years?
Yeah, you were like 9 or 10. That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
I'm like 6 years younger than Kelly.
Right.
And I don't know.
Kevin's in the middle.
Yeah. Kevin's
It-
like 4 from me. So it's like Kelly and then Kevin 2 years later and then me 4 years later.
yes.
Um, yeah, I was a little oopsie baby. Um, makes sense, right?
Oh, you're the
Mess
most
up,
bubbly
right?
of the bubblies. You're the best of the best.
Well, of course.
Mm.
Um, all right. So I'm sorry, you said you were 17?
I was probably 17.
Okay.
Yeah, 16, 17. Because when I graduated, your sister stayed here for an extra year so she could graduate. And then
Yes,
all of you guys moved to
that's right.
Cleveland. And so when she graduated, which was 89, 88, then we moved to Macedonia, and I lived in the basement at your mom and dad's house, which was wonderful, by the way. It's always warm when the dryer's going. So,
I had my room down there too. I think all of us had our room there at one point, but
well, it is
I
far
got a
away
little more
from everything else,
sophisticated.
which is
What was that?
cool.
Sorry,
I
go
said
ahead.
it's far away from everything else, so that's why it's so desirable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think your
Oh
dad
yeah.
put me down there because your brother was up just up the stairs, and I figured that he would add an extra layer of protection so that I couldn't get upstairs to your sister. So your dad was real smart that way.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Your parents were like my second parents. They were the awesome, awesome. Now it was challenging growing up in that household, I imagine. But
Right.
they did love everybody. And
We did.
yes, I felt very loved by your mom and dad. And that I actually attribute um some of myself that to your dad and to your mom. Just the way that they acted and their, they how they treated people, and it
Mm-hmm.
was I don't know, that it made an impression upon me. So your dad made me work like for the first time in my whole life. I didn't really work, and so
Mm.
he gave me and I learned what work was, and I learned what hard work was,
Huh.
and so yeah, there was a work ethic there.
Oh, massively. I had no clue that stuff even happened. I mean, I was a young girl,
You
but
were but a child. Yes, you were but a
very yeah, very
yeah.
child. Yeah, very little child in my opinion,
So
like really little. But like I always saw you as like one. I mean, like I thought you were like bad ass, right?
right.
Like
I mean, it's
you,
kind of obvious.
like seriously, like you had like a little longer hair and you were like into rock and roll music, which where we lived was not a very common thing. Like it was quite rebellious, like to be, and you like, well, Kiss, of course. So like, you introduced me to a lot of probably honestly, obviously, come on. I think you probably introduced me into having this fascination with rock stars that wear makeup because Kiss, Poison, I was
Right.
into Marilyn Manson, of course. And I kind of had that realization like a few weeks ago. I think I was talking to Jason and I was like, I have this thing like all these rock stars, they always wear like Robert Smith of The Cure. It's like so weird. But I think
I
you were
influenced you a
definitely
little
part of
bit.
that. You were definitely part of that.
Well,
That
I
influence.
took you to see Poison in
Yes, my
Texas.
first concert.
Yes, and that was a great show. What a great show that was.
Oh my
Mm.
God. It was so exciting. I had my best friend at the time, Lenny, with me. Oh my Steve, do you remember before the show? I think I don't know. I know that my parents didn't know we were doing it. We went there to
Yes.
try to meet them.
Yeah, we
We
drove
were
through the
in,
parking lot in the afternoon. Yeah, it was like I don't know how you got out of school though, or maybe you.
I don't know either.
I don't remember how but I mean, we got in the car and we drove over there, and like it was in the middle of the afternoon or something.
Yes. We got chased out of there. You were in Kelly's car, the stick
Yeah.
shift.
Yes.
Was it the blue car?
Yeah, the escort. Yeah. Yep.
Maybe it was
I
on a
don't know.
Saturday because back then they didn't do concerts during the week. Like
Right.
it was usually like a weekend, as I'm remembering. But yes, we got in there and we saw the tour buses,
Yeah.
and then like someone started chasing.
Yeah. I remember driving over there, and if I do remember, they had Poison had those customized Harleys, and I think there was one or two of those out by the bus or
Yes,
something because they were cruising around the parking lot.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. So we didn't see them. We missed them at some point, but
Yeah,
saw them that night. It was a good show.
I forgot, and you were like being chased off, and I remember being like, "No, don't!"
We better get out of here. We're
you,
gonna miss the whole show.
you put that car
Yeah.
into like high gear with that stick shift. And
So
I know my parents. I don't even think Kelly knew that's what we were doing. We
I
just
don't
like, took
I
off.
don't
I don't
know.
think she did.
I don't remember any of that. But
How
I
funny.
we did that, and then I was only there for a few months. I got
Yeah,
homesick and decided to come back
yeah.
home, and
Well,
I went on down the road, and then
we were young.
Kelly met Jim, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
you know what? You were young. It's extremely brave that you even moved from Texas. I mean, how long have you lived in Texas?
my whole life. I
Right. So
was born here.
gosh, I
Then
mean,
yeah,
we
I've
lived in another state, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
that's where your like roots were, you know what I'm saying? So that's
yeah.
incredibly brave because you were young. You
Well,
guys were young.
I think we were young. We were
Yes.
young, and obviously I didn't know where I was going or what I was going to do. I had no path in life. I kind of think I wanted to do one thing, but I sat down at your kitchen table in Lufkin with your mother and your sister the day after I graduated high school. And your mom said, "What are you going to do?" And I said,
Oh,
"I have no idea." And so we opened up the book from Angelina College, and I just sort
mhm.
of scrolled through, and I was like, "Oh, this one doesn't have much math. Let's do that." That's how I picked my supposed career. And so that was kind of it, and I wanted to do that, but then I went to school for that. I was
Medical something, right?
ready. Yeah, I was going to be an X-ray
Yes,
tech. Yeah, and I
that's
started
right.
school, and then I moved to Ohio, and then I came back and went back into school for that, and I
Mhm.
never graduated with that. I got into radio about halfway through college, and then I was working overnight at a little radio station here, midnight to
Yeah.
six, and then something had to give, and school gave. And so, because I was having too much fun, man, I was like, "Yeah, on the radio, I'm playing rock music. I'm having a great time. I've got groupies. What do I need a college education
Right?
for?"
Yeah,
So,
well, you're quite popular.
well,
It,
I don't know
from what
about
I
popular.
understand, you're quite popular there.
I'm well known. How about that? Because
Okay.
I started in my career here in '89, and I left here in 2004 to go to Houston, and I worked in Houston for about 12 years. And then, as a lot of radio stations do, they change direction, and
Yeah.
everybody gets fired, and so we all got fired. And
Yeah.
I went to work for the competition there for a little while. Then I came back to Lufkin. Then I went to Huntsville for about 7 or 8 years,
Mm.
Huntsville, Texas, the prison city capital of the United States
Is
of
it really?
America. Oh yeah, there's prison. That's where the Texas criminal justice system has their Texas prison system is housed there.
That's
Um,
kind of interesting.
yes, that's
Did
where
you
all
say
the
Huntsville?
executions, Huntsville, that's where all the executions take place. And
Ooh, I'll
that's,
have to check that
yeah,
out. That's really
yes,
interesting. I'm
a
gonna
lot of
write that
history.
down.
The electric chair that they used to kill people with is still on display. You can get your picture taken while you're sitting in it if you'd like.
Stop it.
Yeah. So, and then I went to Beaumont, Lake Charles, and then the company that owns my radio station called me and said, "How would you like to go back home?" And so I thought for a little bit, and I said, "It would be nice to be close. My dad still lives here. My
Mhm,
mom is lives in Tyler, which is about an hour away." And so
mhm.
I'm in between. My brother lives up there close to my mom, and so I'm I'm close. I'm not too close though. Like I can go see my dad when I want and have a cup of coffee with him on the back porch, and I can
Yeah.
go see my mom when I want. But they're not driving up in my driveway and
Ding ding.
yeah, surprise or whatever. So
Hmm.
anyway, it's good. I'm home and I'm building two new studios here. One in Nacogdoches, Texas, where I am right now, which you're familiar with, and then I have my main studio in Lufkin is being built right now, and so we should be moving into that in January.
Wow. So I know that, I mean, I know you like, you were really into rock music, right?
Yeah,
When
still
I was
am,
younger.
still
Yeah.
am.
So I always wondered about that because you're on a country station, correct?
Classic country,
Okay. Okay.
which
So that's
is
more
which is
like,
like everything from Conway Twitty and Merle Haggard all the way up to probably the early 2000s.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so Keith Urban, Carrie Underwood, those kinds
Oh,
of things into that era. It's primarily 90s country, which is the biggest decade in country music in recent memory was the 90s. It was extremely hot, like Alan Jackson, Travis Tritt, Garth Brooks, Clint Black, Mark Chestnut, all those guys.
okay.
Those
Yeah.
are, yeah, that's when they all came to be. And so
Mm.
that's primarily what we play. So your question is, how did I get into country music when I loved rock so much?
Well, I always yeah, I mean, it's part of it, but I always wondered, like, was it really easy for you to like be interested in being like part of that country scene? Because you were told you were like a drummer, like you were into like rock music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I
Yes,
don't know.
Van
I always
Halen,
wondered if
Mama
it was
True,
hard for you to make
Ozzy,
that
all the
transition, you know?
so so I love music is ultimately the answer to that. I love music. It doesn't
Mm,
matter what it is. I find something enjoyable about most everything. Um, I have a very eclectic taste. But growing up here in East Texas, country was everywhere. So you had to be exposed to it. And my mom and dad were no different. They listened. My mom was a big Elvis fan, so I heard a lot of Elvis. My dad was a big Buddy Holly fan, the Beatles fan,
yeah.
uh, into country. We played a lot of Oak Ridge Boys and Merle Haggard and Willie Nelson going on road trips. That's what they would play. So I was
Yeah.
exposed to that. Now I had my own interest. I love Kiss, as you know. I got into them in the '70s, and I really was hardcore Kiss for a long time.
Hmm.
Wouldn't listen to anything else for a long time. And
Hmm.
then I branched out and got into everything else. But later on, I was exposed to the blues. Stevie Ray Vaughan, was a
Hmm.
Texan, and I got to play a lot of his music when I worked classic rock. And so everything from the Beatles, I'm a huge Beatles fan. All the way through the '70s, I'm a big yacht rock fan. Love
Hmm.
yacht rock. 80s hair metal is my jam. I mean, that's my sweet spot.
Yeah.
So, but I'm also into a lot of new. I don't know if you're familiar with the term Texas country. Well, it's sort of a subgenre of country and Americana that's popular here in the South. And there are bands you've never heard of that have been around for 25 years
Mm.
touring religiously 4 days a week, and they make a living doing that, very good living. They make as much as a top 40 country artist doing shows.
Wow.
Yeah, they have a whole career in album after album. These guys, and
Wow.
there's a bunch of new ones that are coming up all the time, and so I'm really, that's kind of my second love is they call it, it's in Texas, we take ownership of everything. So it's Texas country in Texas. But a lot of the artists come from Oklahoma and they're considered red dirt artists. It's
Hmm.
essentially the same thing. It's just more cerebral type of music. It's not, I drive a truck and barefooted and you're in cut off jeans and we're drinking and I mean, it's not that formulaic shit. Sorry, I don't mean to
Hmm.
cuss, but I'm going to cuss.
That's okay.
Um,
I think we're farther in, even if it'd be okay, honestly.
so,
And no one watches this anyway, so it's fine.
well, you never know. Um, So yeah,
Hopefully.
that's I really enjoy Texas country, and it kind of ranges. It's a strange genre. So we have things that are way traditional. Have you ever heard of Tyler Childers or Sturgill Simpson, Billy Strings, any of these
I
guys?
No, I'm gonna have to say like any type of. I'm not like you like that. Any type of country, I can't. I can't do it. I can't
Well,
do any of it.
it
I can't do
starts
any of it.
on the
So
far left hand. It's very traditional, almost Appalachian country yodeling, and it's way real traditional.
wow,
And then it spans the gamut to we have a
that's crazy.
band, for instance, like Ko Wetzel. He's a new big time artist. He's much more rock oriented. He's been influenced by rock bands and country bands. A lot of these young guys are exposed to Metallica and everybody else that's around. So
Hmm.
they may listen to Merle Haggard at some part of the day and then finish up by listening to Metallica or Slipknot or whatever. So
Mm.
their influence in that makes their music heavier. So it's everything
What
under
type
that
of
umbrella.
music? I'm sorry. What type of music is that called again?
Well, it's considered Texas country or red dirt music.
Okay. Now
Yeah.
maybe I might be able to be into that a little bit. Like I don't mind like it's not like I go out like searching for country music. That's not my like to go to at all. But I mean I can of course like you said like Hanks Williams Jr. Like I like they're more like nitty gritty
Yeah.
rebellion ones,
I'll tell
like
you what,
I'm saying little rougher ones I
I
could
will send you a
deal with.
couple of suggestions to look up.
Yeah, I would love
Things that I
that.
think you might like. You might like that. Yeah.
I would love that. So okay, that makes sense. I understand what you're saying. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's and the other thing about the music thing is that when you get into radio, you're in radio. It doesn't, I didn't get into radio because I wanted to play classic rock. It's we're in the radio business. I'm a on-air personality. I can work anywhere. I do
Mhm.
have a special affinity because I grew up in East Texas and I know country music. So when I got into country music, I already had some exposure to it, and some of it I liked a lot. And then there was other things that I didn't like. But I'm not going to go on the air and go, "Boy, that was a shitty song. Nobody likes that." You know,
Yeah.
I'm not. That's my opinion. Doesn't matter. So I can play anything. I play country, rock. I've done it all.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have you know, forgive my like I have no idea about what you do. Um like do you have like an afternoon show? Like I can only go based off of like sometimes when I don't usually really listen to radio much anymore, but like we have a morning show where it goes on for like, hours, like
Mhm.
3, 4 hours, and there's a bunch of people and they talk. It's like a talk radio, you know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
very popular here. It's called Rover's Morning Glory. And then we have like an afternoon show. Like, is that what you do?
I
Or
I I don't consider myself a morning guy because I don't like getting up in the morning. I'm not an early riser, but
yeah,
I have to be. So, but I do a morning show, and I
okay.
have some comedy bits and some routines that I do every morning. I do something called Knuckleheads in the News. I actually stole Knuckleheads in the News from Lanigan and Webster in
Yeah, I
Cleveland.
was gonna say that's a
Yes,
Lanigan thing. Yeah.
yes,
We
I
knew it
stole
as
that.
Lanigan and Malone.
Yeah, well, after Webster, I think either quit or died or something. They went to
Yeah, something
yeah.
happened to one of them.
So, well, they were already old when I was there, but
Hmm.
they used to do that bit where it was stupid criminal news or stupid
Yeah,
news stories, and I loved it. It was the
yeah.
best.
It was funny.
So I do something like that. I do stupid criminals, stupid news, weird news,
Yeah.
and then I do like a country music and entertainment news thing where I get to talk about, the latest news in the entertainment world. And so, though, and then I run some little comedy bits. I'm not, it's just me. So I don't have a whole
Okay.
team of people in with me. But, what I do is slightly better than the guy that's across town. That's my competition. He
Mm,
doesn't put a lot of effort into his show, and I put a lot of
mhm.
effort into mine. So I do prep work. I'm here. I get here about 5 every morning, so I'm up at about 4:30, 4:15, 4:30,
Wow.
which sucks. But
Yeah, that's rough.
but you have if you're gonna do it, you have to be prepared. As much as I wing it, I am a little bit prepared. So
Of
I do that
course.
Monday through Friday, and then I collapse into a heap on Friday afternoon, and then I wake back up on Monday and go back to it.
No, no, people seem to really like you. Like I go on Facebook. I've seen your Facebook posts, and like people like, what do you call them? Listeners or fans? Like you seem to be very well liked.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I do have a lot of, there are 90% of the people that are friends with me on Facebook are listeners from wherever that I've been.
yeah,
I didn't even get on Facebook until I was in Houston, so there's a lot of Houston forward people on there. But yeah, and family members. I go by Steve Rixx.
yeah,
That is my persona, and I don't have a separate Facebook page for Steve Cooney. Not yet, anyway. Maybe down the line someday.
yeah. So I'm glad you said that because I always wondered too. Like, where'd you come up with Ricks from?
At my first radio station, the night that I went on the air, the guy said, "What's your air name?" And I said, "Huh?" And he said, "You have to have an air name." I said, "I do." And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Okay." So I was looking around, and my license plate on my car was 805 RXX. And so I started thinking about that, and at the time, Ricky Rocket has two K's and two in his name, and Nikki Six has two X's and
Right. That's
six.
wild, man.
Ricks, let's do it. So I did it. Usually, that
That's
the
wild.
the old radio guys
Yeah.
would say you need to have at least two syllables in your word in your name in order for it to.
Mm.
So you'll see a lot of people that are in radio that have names like Bo Stevens or something with two syllables at the end. So but I don't. I'm Steve Ricks.
So, do most people only know you as that? Like to me, I know that's not your name, but like your listeners, like they only know they think your name
Yeah.
is Steve Ricks.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
had
that's
people,
cool.
I've had actual Rickses come to me and say, "Which side of the family are you related? Are you related to so and so?" And I said, "I'm not that Ricks." There's a bunch of people here in East Texas with the
Wow.
last name Ricks, and so
Okay.
they think we're related.
Oh
Which
my
then I
God,
have to
that's
tell
so
them
cool.
that's not my real name.
That's so
So
cool though.
yeah, but I actually had a buddy of mine that I graduated high school with was in here doing an interview the other day, and I said something about my name is Cooney. My last name is Cooney. And he said, "No, your name's Ricks, isn't it?" And I said, "No." And he said, "You weren't Steve Ricks in school?" I said, "No, man, I was Steve Cooney in school.
No, that's
Uh,
wild,
we
man.
had classes together, Ken." So anyway, but
That's
35
wild.
years, you'll forget stuff.
Yeah. That's wild. It's a whole new like I mean, it's a different persona. It's
Yeah.
wild. Even
Well, I
on
did
like
that.
maybe,
I,
it's not like like you're not like I know I'm a fangirl, like a Marilyn Manson. His real name is Brian Warner, right?
right.
But it's like you still have a different persona. I think that's really kind of cool. I
Well,
really do.
I think the original thinking was that Steve Cooney was not, in my opinion, a radio air personality. He didn't have a
Right.
personality. He was just
Sure.
this goofy East
Hmm.
Texas kid. And so, but becoming Steve Ricks, I could become another person. I could be Gene Simmons with his face mask on.
Yes.
He's the demon, right? So
Right.
I always thought, well, that gave me license to be a little bit
Yeah.
different or weird and be okay with it. And so,
Yeah.
but now it's kind of morphed, and Steve Ricks is who I am. It's
Hmm.
it sort of opened me up in my
Yeah.
personality, because I was shy and reserved. I know that seems odd, but I was very shy. I didn't like meeting people or hanging out with a lot of people. And,
Yeah.
but, this job forces you to get out of the box and be personable. So
Mm-hmm.
it changed me in a good way.
In a good, I love that. I really do. I really do. I think that's really cool. I think that's really cool. And you're right. It does. I could imagine that it does give that. It kind of shields you, right? It makes you gives
Mhm.
you a little layer of protection. I could totally see
Right.
that. I don't have like a different name change, but I definitely try hard to. It's almost like the reverse thing. Like I'm into the whole Marilyn thing, right? Marilyn
Yeah.
Rose. Like I try hard to like here it is, like oh Marilyn, I do the blonde hair and the red lip, but it's still it's kind of the same thing. It's
Yeah.
like it's a layer of like I can be like this. I don't know. I'm being weird. I get weird, but I get what you're saying. I get what
I,
you're totally saying.
and the anonymity thing is important. Here in East Texas, back in the old days, we used to, I mean, I've had several stalkers over the years,
Wow.
follow me home. I had a girl show up in my living room. I had fallen asleep on the
No.
couch. Yeah, I'd fallen asleep on the couch watching some show. And I woke up and there was a couple of girls there and they were saying, "Is that him? I think
Stop.
that's him." And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I was out of it. And so anyway, they were looking for me and I escorted them out. But and then there was another
Are you
girl that followed me home one night and knocked on my front door. I mean, it was, it only happened a few times, but it helps having that extra little bit late because they start looking for Steve Rixx. They're not going to find anybody, especially now. If you do a background check on Steve Rixx, you're not going to find
you're
him.
not
There's not
gonna
going to be
find me
not
anywhere?
going to find an address anywhere.
That's
But the problem is
wild.
that now, and that only happened in East Texas. It didn't happen to me when I was in a big city like Houston. I never got recognized or anything like that.
Right.
So that was
That has
it
to
was
be cool to
easier.
be recognized. That has to be cool.
It is. It
Yeah.
is in certain instances. Like
Sure. I
the
mean,
first day I was back here last year, I went to Walmart in Lufkin to pick up some stuff, and I ran into a guy that I used to go to school with, of course. And he said, "Steve Cooney, well, well, well. So you're back, huh?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Man, you sure have gotten fat." And I said, "Well, thanks a lot. Welcome home."
what an asshole.
Yeah, well,
He's jealous, Steve.
people have license to be mean, so
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay.
But no skin off my back. He stayed here his whole life, so
That's right.
I've gone out and seen the world.
That's right.
I've met celebrities, and I've hung out in
Yes.
really kick-ass places and done cool stuff.
You've seen,
So
yeah, you've met a lot of people. That is really, yeah,
uh,
absolutely. It's very cool. I'm winking. Okay, so I just had this little memory, and maybe it's wrong.
mm,
So I'm gonna go back now into like the past here.
mhm,
I'm gonna switch gears a little bit.
okay,
And so when we were younger, we lived in Lufkin, Texas, right?
mhm.
And for me, I recall it as being a very like it was a dry county. Like, didn't they have a thing about playing music, rock and roll music? Like, wasn't there like a thing? Like, it wasn't like a big like it wasn't good, right? Like,
I think you may be projecting a little bit on that. Just because of your experience and your being young at the time,
uh-huh.
we were definitely a minority. But it did not stop me from cranking my music as loud as I could when I pulled onto the church parking lot. I didn't give
Right.
a fuck. I am who I am. There,
Yeah.
they, of course, there were people who didn't like rock music. They, considered it the devil's music and all of that
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was. I mean, yeah, it
Did
was a
you
thing.
did you do some advocacy for like music? Like rock music? Like did you do some type of
No, not
my
organized.
mother, I don't know, I remember my mother telling me like she was proud of you about something and it had to do with music. Like you maybe she was just proud of you for like sticking to who you were. But I remember her telling me that as a young
I don't know.
girl.
I don't
that
remember
it was,
that.
and it had
Any
something to do with music, and it
if it
almost,
made your mother proud of me, then I don't care what it was.
well, she was,
That's
yeah, it was something like, she definitely said something to me like, um,
later on, like after I came back home.
while we were living in Texas,
Okay.
still, she
I
was
don't. I
saying
think I was. At that time, that was when all that
like
PMR.
something happened where there was criticism. Sorry to interrupt you, and you like, you made like a, almost to me, like it was almost like you wouldn't, like, to me the way she was telling me is like, you, in my head I saw it as like you like really like almost like you stood your ground, and you were explaining to people like, no, it's not bad, and I don't know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of glorified you though when I was little, so I
Well,
could totally, you know what I mean.
I sort of remember. I remember something like that, but it was probably what it was during that time. The PMRC. That was mid '80s when the PMRC, the Parents Music Resource Committee, Tipper
Mm-hmm.
Gore,
Mm-hmm.
opened legislation in Congress to put warning labels on albums.
Yes.
So, warning: this music contains adult situations, etc., which they thought would make parents not let their children buy those albums.
Right.
It made it exactly the opposite. Everybody
Right.
that they saw the sticker wanted the album.
Of
If you
course.
saw Ozzy's album, I don't care what it was on. There was a warning label on it. I've got to have that. So it
Yeah.
backfired big time. But
Right.
I was there. There were times in CCD. You remember that, which was like Sunday school.
Yes. Yes.
The
We called it PSR here, but yeah, we called it CCD. Yeah.
Right.
In
It
Texas.
was
Yeah.
catechism. So
Yeah.
anyway, the teachers that were in there, I do remember us having these pretty vigorous debates about rock music. And me and my best friend Matt Casper, he was with me in that class,
Mm-hmm.
and all of our peers,
Mm-hmm.
we stood our ground, and we did. We tried to take the myth and the it's evil and the devil out of the conversation. This has nothing to do with that, But everybody, all the parents were wrapped around, Ozzy bit the head off a bat, and he worships the
Yes.
devil and upside down crosses, and I'm,
Right.
forget the fact that these guys are entertainers and they're trying to sell albums.
Right.
Okay, I mean, come
Right.
on, it's a show, man. And then they would go home and
Exactly.
watch, and then go home and watch WWE and cheer on the winner of that, thinking that's real. I
Exactly.
mean,
Yeah.
it's ignorance abounds, but I think that's probably what your mom was talking about, because I was
And
very
she,
vocal about. I liked the music. I wore the shirts. I played the albums
you
loud,
did. Yeah. Yeah, you
and
did.
so, don't. I've always been that kind of a rebellious person anyway. People tell me you have to do it this way. I'm not going to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hard headed, but smart hard headed. So yeah, I think that's probably what she's talking about.
It was, yeah, you're probably right. Cause I know it was something like almost like a footloose thing. Cause I was a little girl, don't remember, but I remember her saying that you were representing rock music like they were being, exactly what you're saying. Like, you're not getting it. Like, it's not like that. So that's probably exactly what it was. But I do, she, my mom was a difficult woman. She was different. So, she approved of you doing that. She may not have been able to say, hey, Steve, I like that you did that. But she, to me, was like thinking it was like great. You know what I mean? But
I speaking of Footloose, um, when's the
what I
last
just found
time?
out, Jason, he's never seen it.
What?
That's what I said. What?
You have to see
What?
it at
That's
least
what I
once.
said. But, oh no. I'm like, are you time out? He's like, well, I'm 3 years younger than you. I'm like, no,
That doesn't
no.
matter at all. That doesn't
So
matter.
that's our next we call it bad movie night. So that's going to be our next one. But go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
What about Dirty Dancing? Has he seen that?
Ooh, I don't know.
Nobody was baby in a corner.
Oh my
So
gosh.
you don't remember watching that movie 8,700 times when you were growing up?
Yes. Yes.
And do you know where we got it from? So I came home I came to your parents' house one day, and your mom or Kelly was like, we're gonna watch Dirty Dancing. And I said, isn't that just now in the theater? And and she said,
Oh, go
yeah.
ahead. I know you. I love it.
And I
Sorry.
and I said, I don't understand. How do you have? And she says, and your mom's like, we know people. And I'm like, what do you mean you know people? What is happening? And so finally she said, Aunt Mary in Chicago. Aunt Mary sends us movies. First run. She has, and I'm like, what? Is she in like the mob? What's going on? And so when we went to
Oh
Chicago,
my
so we had Dirty Dancing. We were watching Dirty Dancing on videotape
God. Right.
as it was in the theaters.
Right.
And then we went to Chicago for Christmas that year and went to Aunt Mary's house. And then your sister took me into the basement where the miniature Blockbuster video was located
Yes.
with all the
Yes.
tapes and the boxes of tapes. It
I
was
forgot
nuts.
about that.
Yeah.
Yes. Rows and rows. And they were in the hard plastic and they
Yep.
were labeled. Steve, I
Yeah.
forgot about that. You're right. My father, oh, Steve, his desire, he had two desires in this world, and
Mhm.
the poor man never got them. He got close though.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a rock star. That was number one.
He
He
was
wanted to
close.
be, hmm?
He had a song,
He did.
that
And
band.
he tried. He tried hard.
That's
He
right.
almost got there.
Right.
I remember there's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here in Cleveland, and we went there one time, and we were in um, the wall of the one hit wonders,
Yeah.
and he was looking at it, and he looked a little somber,
Yeah.
and I said, "Hey," and he goes, "I played against them, them," and he's like, and it was all for like a record deal, like not a record deal. We could do a song. They would
Right.
do a
One song at a
song.
time. Yep.
Yeah, and he's like we never won, but we were like he was always like this as we like I
Yeah.
couldn't we were almost there, but he looked sad and I could
Yeah.
tell, and you know what I said to him,
Hmm.
because one of those songs, I can't remember I think it was called the Animal. I don't know. And the song is like, I keep on dancing, shake it, baby. That was the song, right?
Right.
And I was like, Dad, I'm like, well, you know what? I'm like, that band right there, they're in a diaper commercial for like Pampers. So they didn't get anywhere either, and he
No.
kind of like
No.
smiled and like looked at me and kind of chuckled a little bit. But I
He.
felt bad for him. I thought, oh my God, like how sad. He always wanted to be a rock star, man.
I know. I know he did.
He tried hard. And
He
even
did.
when he was younger, I remember his old bandmates calling him and being like, hey, why don't we like try to like get the band back together?
Yeah.
And him telling me like he told them no. And I was young. I'm like, why? And he's like, well, I have children. I'm past all that. Oh my God. It's just really cute. His second wish, he
Mm.
he wanted to be in the Mafia. He
Well,
wanted to be
here's
a gangster.
here's the story that makes me think that you were one person adjacent to the mafia. So that trip, when we took that trip to Chicago, we were in that band,
You are
and,
so funny.
and we
You're the second
stopped
person who's told me that. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
the van.
No, that
Oh,
you were a few steps away from really knowing people. That's
so
funny.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
know who this
Sorry.
person was, but we
No.
stopped. We stopped outside Chicago. It was in a suburb,
Okay.
and it was dark. It was after hours. It was like, I don't know. It was late. It was probably 10 o'clock, and
Uh-huh.
we stopped at this little neighborhood, and it was a small house.
Hmm.
I want to say it was a double wide mobile home, but the guy that answered the phone or the door was Sopranos. I mean, his hair was slicked back. He's got the tracksuit on. He's got the
Stop it.
bling,
Stop it.
and I'm like, and before we went in there, your dad was like, "Don't ask him about the mafia." And I know he was just giving me shit. I know he was just messing with me. But the dude,
Absolutely.
but I don't know who this guy was. And we went in there and we had some food and some drinks and hung out and visited for a little bit and then
Where
left. But I don't know who that was.
Where were we? You were
Y'all were with us. We were all
what?
together. It was a whole family. Yeah, we were on our way into Chicago. Remember, we stayed at Hoochie Doodle's house in Chicago above Uncle Dave, and that walk up, the 3 story
In
walk up.
Chicago, Uncle
Yes,
Dave.
Uncle Dave, and then whoever lived second floor with Rocco's mom and dad.
Kim.
For the kid, yes, Kim. But what was her man's name? I can't remember.
Sam.
Kim and Sam. Yeah,
That was one of her boyfriends.
yeah.
Is that who we were talking to? Mafia guy?
No,
Oh,
no.
because that would make sense because
This was
Sam was a crooked cock and crop. I said cock.
yes.
He was a crooked cop
I know,
in
and I remember
Chicago.
that. I remember
Okay.
driving his police car because we went to go get booze or something,
He would, yeah,
and he
he was
drove an
rough.
unmarked vehicle. Yeah, he was a little bit of trouble.
Oh, he
So,
was, yeah.
but the guy we met was outside of town as we were driving in to go to Chicago. We were out in the suburbs, and we stopped at this place, and we never stopped there again, and I never saw those people again. I don't know who they were.
Why were we there? And
Just to
why
say
would we
hi
go inside?
because it was like they were family or something. Like it may have been cousin Archie or who the hell. I don't know who it was. I got the
So
impression they
we
were
just
your
came
dad's
in to
son.
visit?
As we were going in, we just stopped in, say hi, said hello, hugs and kisses, used the
Mm-hmm.
bathroom, got a couple of drinks, and hit the road again. It was like we were paying tribute to the mafia boss as we were coming.
Steve, stop.
I don't know. I don't know who this. I did
Did he
not
have
dream
children
this.
there? Did the guy have children there?
I don't remember kids.
Oh my God, you're so funny.
So
If my father were alive right now, he would love this conversation. He would. When he passed, like Kelly and I, you know how you have like the flowers that go over like the you know what do you call it? The spread, right?
right, yeah, yeah.
At the funeral home. Yeah. And so we were like picking one out, and Kelly said, "Oh, we should put The Godfather." And I'm like, "Oh, Kelly, you're right. We should." And we kind of went back and forth. We're like, "Should we? Should we?" And then ultimately we didn't. But I regret that we didn't. We only didn't because we kind of felt like, well, you
It
know,
wouldn't be appropriate.
that's why. Yeah. But if we could go
Blah
back and
blah.
do it,
Yeah,
exactly, because it was because he would have loved that, you know. But
absolutely,
oh
absolutely.
my
He would love it.
gosh. Yes. Like he would have people, oh, go ahead and kiss my ring. Like he would do it and people would do it. Like, what are you doing? Oh, he's something. I had a boyfriend. What time is it? I have to leave soon. I had a boyfriend who he was always getting in speeding tickets and didn't pay them. He was whatever. I was like young. It was like 19 years old, right? But he
Yeah,
was like an Italian dude, right? So my
yeah,
dad was real like he liked him, right? And
yes.
he had to go to court because he was like his license got suspended. They impounded his car. He got pulled over. Like it was all like a bunch of speeding tickets, shit like that.
Yeah.
And so my dad was like, "Don't worry about it. I know someone that can help you," right? And so he's like, "Oh, okay." Right? His name was Gino. Gino, as this was like,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And he came back from court and he was like, "I need to talk to you." And he was serious. I'm like, "What happened? What?" And he's like, "I think your dad's in the mafia." And I said, "No, I said, Gino, no, he's not. He's not. He
He
just wants
wants
you
to
to think."
be.
I said, "He just wants you to think that." He goes, "No, Carrie, I think he is." He goes, "I talked to the guy once that your dad said, I know somebody that can help you. I talked to this guy once. It was a lawyer. One time on the phone. And he said, okay, we'll just be at your thing. I'll be there." He said, the guy came in. He said, you know Bemis? And he said, yeah. And he goes, all right. He shook his hand. And then when it started, he said, "Judge, can I talk to you?" And he goes up and talks to the judge. And all of a sudden he comes back and says, "Yeah, you can leave." And I'm like, okay. I said, Gino, he's not in the mafia. He was like, "I'm telling you who he is. He's in the mafia, Carrie." I'm like, "No, he's not. He's not. He wants you to think he is, but he's not.
He just knows people.
He
He just
just
knows
knew
people.
someone. That's
Yeah, he
it.
just knew it.
And it's
Yeah,
speeding tickets."
yeah.
But oh, it's just so funny. Like and I told my dad that, and he was like, "Yeah."
He wielded some power, and that made him very happy.
Oh, yes. Well, I always say it's because, I was raised by a lot of like half Italians
Mm,
that have to compensate because they're not full Italians and
yes.
they really want to be.
Oh, yes. I was not full Italian. I don't know if you know that or not.
No, I
I'm the
didn't.
farthest thing from Italian.
All the secrets, see, they
And
come
they
out now.
still love me. It's because I'm fucking awesome. That's
I
why.
think about that. You were just, oh my God, I can't believe that. You said my mother sat you down. You were 19, sat you down and said, "So what are you doing with your life?"
I was 18, right after the day after I graduated high school.
Oh, okay.
She just asked me what I was going to do. What are you going to go to college for? And I'm
What was
like,
you gonna do? Okay.
shit, I
She
don't know.
now you know she wasn't like, well, Stephen, have you
No, she
thought
was
about
not. She's like,
no?
what are you going to do? Well, you can't just open that book up and decide. Yeah.
I mean,
Oh
you're gonna be
my
a
God.
loser or something? You're not gonna be a loser dating my daughter,
No.
are you? Right?
Yeah. And she just get up, and walk to the kitchen and mouth off, say some stuff. Oh my God. You hear
Oh
this?
my God.
You hear this?
Oh, that's hilarious.
You hear this? Yeah, I know. Your dad's in there sitting on the couch, getting Kevin to turn the satellite dish. Turn it.
Stop it. We talking.
D7. Your brother would stand there and turn that little thing. God.
Yes, I told you I would talk about. I'm like, yeah, satellite. Like in Texas, I talk about we had satellite dish. You're like, what do you mean? I'm like, no. Didn't you have a satellite dish? It was like literally like one to like you could like launch a rocket from. They're
It
like,
was
huh?
like 15 feet across, big, out in the backyard.
It was a
Yes.
literal satellite dish, and I said, no, stop it. I said we would turn the channel, and you could hear it from.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You could see it go in position.
Yeah.
Think of the radiation, seriously. Like
It was
they're
crazy.
like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm
That's
like,
how
well,
that's how, if you had satellite TV, that's how you did it. It was crazy, back in the day.
yeah. And it would like chant, like you'd be like, okay, you try to turn that, you'd be like, all right, go here is the coordinates. You
Yeah.
were like, swear to God, you were typing in coordinates. It was
Yeah.
weird.
It was, well, there was different satellites and everything. Every satellite had different channels. So you had to go from satellite to satellite and then go
Yeah.
through the channels to find what you were watching. But your dad had like some sort of a satellite TV guide. It was it was a huge, big thing, and he would pull
Like
the,
some NASA shit.
yeah, it was a big book with it was like a TV guide for satellite TV.
Oh
Is
my
what it was.
God. He
Yeah.
probably got it stolen or something. He
Yeah.
used to love, if he thought something came off as he would say, the back of a truck, he bought it.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
he loved it. Boxes of cereal,
Yeah.
like
Whatever's free or low price.
whatever he could finagle.
I worked for your dad at Chromium
You did?
Corporation.
I'm
And
sorry.
yes, I worked for
I
your
would never
dad.
allow any of my boyfriends to ever work. I said, no, no,
So
nope.
me and Matt both worked there for your dad
Oh,
and
I'm
Jerry
sorry.
Floyd.
Because he
Yes.
was a
And
lunatic.
right. And so your dad, they hired us to do like contract labor stuff. And so we were like sweeping the floors and emptying the trash. And so one day your dad says, go get Casper and then get your painting supplies, the paint rollers and the brushes and all the pans and a couple of ladders, and throw them in the company truck and meet me at my house. I said, okay. So we drove out to your house. I mean, it was like middle of the day, I guess. You were probably at school. Kevin was at school. Uh, and he got us to paint the fucking house, the outside, like
I remember. Go
all the
ahead. Sorry.
window sills and all the eaves and all that crap. So we painted your house for like, we spent 3 or 4 days painting.
And he didn't spend one penny
Not
on
a
any of
dime.
it.
Not a dime. We bought all that paint and all that supplies on the company card.
I
Sweet.
remember he
And I
would
got paid.
he
Pretty
would
good deal.
bring us up there. I remember being in the van, I think the van
Yeah.
we had,
Yeah.
and we'd pull up and he'd come walking out with bags of like toilet paper and like hand like all the shit.
Yeah. Where'd you get that from?
Oh my God. And I would be like, okay. And like I remember a worker once came up and my mom's like, Carrie, keep your legs over the bags. Like she was like making me hide the relax with my legs. And I was like, okay, like I get it. Until I got older and I was like, oh, he was stealing.
Well, he had guys doing stuff out at the house all the time, but everybody did. I mean, Jerry Foote, the guy that he worked with, he had people doing
Yes.
stuff, and then that guy that ran the place, he had people. I mean, everybody. That was standard procedure for everybody. So, but I mean, I was
My
getting
dad had
paid
his own
like
crew, you know, he had his
I
own
was.
crew.
Yeah, absolutely. Need something done? I'll call these guys. But I was making really good money. I was making like $25 an hour or something.
Then,
With them. Yeah, yeah, it was.
Jesus.
Yeah, but we were working. We were working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So there was
Well,
no
yeah, you
time.
were painting his house and staining his
Yeah.
deck
Well,
and mowing the lawns. And
he made sure I was too tired to come pick up your sister and take
that's
her out on the
right.
weekend. That's what he did.
That's right.
He was just making sure that I was unavailable.
That's right. You have no energy to take my
Right.
daughter out.
That's right.
Oh, I know. They were something. My parents, they were something.
Well,
And oh,
our mutual friend Dana Drinkwater is coming to visit in a few days.
she
Yes.
is.
Yes, she'll be up there to see you. She's coming to see
Yeah.
her sister. Yeah, she's
See,
coming
I
there.
thought you meant she was coming to see. Look,
I see her every week. We have lunch. We have
I
a
didn't know it
standing
was that
lunch date.
soon.
Yeah, it's like December 6th or
Oh
something.
my
So
gosh.
it's
Well,
next, not next week, week after next.
Jim was telling me that she was coming, but I didn't realize
Yeah,
it was that soon. Oh my God.
yeah.
Well, it's cool that you know what's going on in Ohio.
Well, and here's the reason I tell you that is because I think if when at some point I know that your mom wants to bring um, her son to come down. He wants to see Lufkin, so she wants to
My
come back to
mom,
Lufkin.
you mean Kelly?
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
Kelly
okay. Oh, that's okay. Okay.
wants to bring him down to show him Lufkin and all this
Michael
because he's
does?
heard about it. Yeah, he wants to see it.
Oh,
And so they came down a couple of years ago, but they're going to come down probably next year, I would assume. And then I told Dana that I want to come up too, so I would like to come up and hang out and visit and go see your mom and
yeah.
dad and pay my respects and all of that stuff.
Oh, you're sweet.
Kiss the ring, so to speak.
Kiss the ring. Yeah, I would. That would be cool. And yeah, you can stay with me, and that would be cool. Whatever. I would love
We
that. I
will
think
have
that'd be
fun. We will
great.
have fun. We will reminisce and talk and laugh.
Absolutely. I love that. What time is it? I know you have to go.
Yes, unfortunately, I have to go meet a group of women.
Oh,
I'm in a girls group,
stop.
and so they don't invite their husbands, but they invite me. So it's a group of girls that I worked with at my radio station in Lufkin years ago, and
Uh,
they're all younger. They're all in their early to mid 30s, and but we have talked about doing a podcast for about a year now, and so we get together about it once a month and talk and discuss how we're going to do it, and then we're
I
going to
love that.
once we get my new studio finished in Lufkin, we'll record it in there. But it's going to be called um, what is it? Heartbreaks and horror stories, and the horror is WHORROR,
Yeah.
as in horrors. So
Right.
we all have these great relationship stories and about horrible people that we've been with over the years, and so we're going to use that knowledge to help other people in their relationships. So
I love that. I
three
really
young
do.
females married and in different lives than me and then me, and so
Yeah.
and yeah, so
And
when
yeah,
we do it
they're,
I will tell you.
yeah, I would love that. They're waiting for Steve to show up.
Yes,
Oh, baby. Oh my gosh.
it was wonderful talking to you and seeing you.
It was really nice. Thank you so much for doing this. I really
Sure,
appreciate it. I didn't want it to be the last one because there's so much we could talk
we
about.
we could talk for hours.
We could.
Well, I'm
I
sending you
love
long
you.
distance hugs. I love you very much, and please tell everyone hello for me, and I
I
hope
will.
to see you sometime soon. Okay,
You will. All right, baby.
take care.
Bye.
See you.